Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yay, owl's here.
Yeah, but I don't. It's not in the cameras. It's not.
Parts of it, part of the owl is there. I
Yeah,
think
there,
it's
there
missing
we
out.
go. There we go. We
Yeah, I
got to
wonder
move
why
the
it does
camera
that.
though. I don't know. It's the first time I've brought an owl onto the show. First time I've been on the show in about a month.
Yes,
Sometime last month before you moved down south.
yes,
So I got out of practice. But there she is, kinda.
yes. Mm-hmm.
There it is. Oh, da, 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 da. So
Mm-hmm.
cute. So cute.
Yes,
All right. Oh, she's back, and we're back. I'm
yes.
back.
And
Been
can you
too
guess what we're
long.
going to talk about, right, Madeline? What are we going to talk about tonight?
Owls.
Owl.
um, Georgia, Connecticut, Streamyard. I really don't know. Well, we missed a couple opportunities after the elections in Colombia on May 31st, and then after the second round of elections this past Sunday, the 21st of June. So it's been at least 3 weeks. Well, it's been almost 4 weeks, maybe five, since
Yes.
since we've spoken about it, and not a pretty sight here. Not a pretty sight here in Colombia. But
No. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
well, and it's infuriating because we know that the CIA and Donald Trump and the US government have been hard at work behind, not so much, not even behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
um, making sure that Ivan Cepeda doesn't win. And he got 13,700,000 votes, a little more than that. He got less than 1% fewer votes than Abelardo did. And it breaks it's infuriating as well as heartbreaking because it was so close, and I already heard Trump bragging about how, yeah, he said, I endorsed Abelardo and he went from 10th place to first place. Aren't I great? Just like I am here in the US. And it's like the man never stops bragging, and there's virtually no substance to his boasts. It's not
No.
him. He didn't get Abelardo elected. Um, and if I see, well, I have to see it every day. Abelardo is there, giving a salute. That's how he's pictured. Um, and I don't even think he's in Colombia now. I think he's back in Miami in his home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's going to govern from there, which is ridiculous. Um, and even if he doesn't, even if he's not, in the U.S. physically, that's where his mind is. His allegiances to Donald Trump in the U.S. And under Trump, most of the world has turned away from the US, and most of the people in Colombia, all the people in Colombia I know can't stand Trump. So this was created, this adulation for Abelardo was created, and it's going to be a nightmare. I know people who worked their, what off to get Cepeda elected, mm, and they're don't they don't want to come out from under the covers. they're so depressed because the difference between Petro and Cepeda and Abelardo is so stark.
Yes,
It's
it
so
is.
stark. It's not, you know, you and I, Dee, were speaking before we started the show about the liberal left or the left and the right. And I said to you, and I mean it, it's not anymore about right and left. It's about protecting human rights. And democracy is an overused word, but it's about letting people speak. It's about honoring people's choices. Um, and Abelardo does none of the above, none of it. But how Colombians were first introduced to him was him telling stories, and I got the story, the details filled in today. He would put firecrackers on cats, and then he would light the firecrackers to see if the cat would fly.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, and then he went. I mean, yes, he was a kid when he did it. Um, don't know exactly what age he was, but he laughs about it now. He doesn't say, I should never have done that. I'm older and wiser now, and I know that what I did you know, was cruel to animals. He doesn't say anything like that. And
No,
what he's going to do is to be cruel to animals and cruel to humans. And I was, I had counted, um, I realized how fortunate I was because I've lived here in Colombia ever since this round of the genocide began on October 7th, 2023. And I've had Petro as president throughout the entire genocide. And the minute that Abelardo won or was announced as the victor, um, that very minute he's unfurling Israeli flags and talking about how he's going to rebuild and repair the relationship that Colombia has with Israel. And so, so much for the oasis I was living in, or for the breath of fresh air, the government that got it, that understood it, and guess who? He's destroyed that. Abelardo, yes, but the person who pushed him, um, not the person, the place that pushed him or the organization that pushed him, CIA, Marco Rubio, all the usual suspects. And of course, our beloved president, um, who, like I said just a little bit ago, he's bragging about his power and how he was able to get Abelardo elected. Um, it was 50-50, basically, right down the middle, in the second round last Sunday. And if people stand up, those who are today, Petro announced that he was the leader of the Pacto Histórico. He's the point person, and Cepeda is right by his side. So those two aren't going to take a breather. Um, but it's we know how the resistance gets
mm-hmm.
when there's no election to work toward. We know the pitfalls of that. So hopefully all of Colombia, or a good chunk of the 13.7 million who voted for Cepeda, hopefully they won't go away. Um, and It's not going to be easy. It's
No,
not
it's
going to
not.
be easy. Um,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, fracking, we don't, if Abelardo and Trump get their way, all of the beautiful biodiversity in Colombia will be on the chopping block right away. Um, because fracking, they want fracking, even though for the last 10 years there's been a ban on fracking in Colombia. He's going to, Abelardo's going to lift that ban. But you know what? We have our own villain in that regard in the New Jersey in the United States, Mikey Sherrill,
Mm.
Democrat, lifted a 50-year ban on new nuclear power plants. And there's a new bill that's being pushed forward that will tie taxpayers into subsidizing nuclear power plants for a period of up to 40 years. Yeah,
Mm.
40 years. What are we doing? Back to the future? What is this?
I don't
Um,
know.
so it's not just Republican Trump and cat murderer,
Mm.
um, Abelardo. I mean, it's this swing to the ultra right, and being alive, being alive now. And being a sentient human being with empathy and so on, it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not. It's
Um,
and it just seems that they don't care. People that are on the right, they just don't care about things that most of us do, especially when it comes to animal cruelty. They just don't. They don't care.
well, again, I'm not going to say that they're on the right. They're the anti-human rights group, anti-environmental, anti-animal, anti-social justice. I mean, these are things that should not be thrown into the category of the left. Look, um, Ivan Cepeda got the most votes ever in Colombia for somebody who, as you're defining as liberal. I'm defining as pro human rights and pro social justice. So at the same time that there are these people who say, who thumb their nose at it, the number of people who are pro um, environment, pro human rights, anti war, pro social justice, that number is growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so these other people, they're just standing in the way of it. Um, they make me so angry, and I alternate, as do some of my friends here. We alternate between anger, bitterness, disappointment, and total depression,
Yes.
um, because people work so hard to get um, to get Petro elected 4 years ago, and Cepeda got more votes than Petro did.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it doesn't if you expect the numbers to correspond to something.
Right.
The numbers correspond to nothing. Um, I mean, I saw many examples of fraud. Um, because in Colombia, it's all done by paper ballot,
Right.
and um, that 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 provides certain advantages because there's a paper trail. You can look back at the votes, make sure that they're tallied correctly.
Right.
The voting machines in the U.S., the electronic ones, as they all say, garbage in and garbage out.
Right.
And so you don't know if your vote was tallied correctly. Here, your votes, you can see whether your votes tallied correctly. And
Hmm.
there's a form called the 14E or the E14, and that's what you've got witnesses and jurors, and judges, sitting at tables, and they watch as the votes are cast. You don't cast your vote in a voting machine.
Right.
You go to a voting station, which is made out of cardboard, and you get your ballot and you write in your choice. You go through like a registration table to make sure you're eligible to vote. Um, if you vote, your name gets crossed off the list so that you don't get a second chance at voting. Um, and then all those paper ballots are counted. And those paper ballots, there's you write in a number based on um, what you count. How many votes for Cepeda and how many votes for De La Isprieja. What a name. It's a beautiful name. It's just not a beautiful person. Um, so I saw so many, and it's only because they were posted online by people who had once the vote was tallied and finished, which was maybe 6 o'clock on Sunday. The call went out for attorneys all across the country to go to a voting place and review the ballots because it was a razor thin margin of victory um, for Abelardo, the cat murderer, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
and so people who were doing that were posting ballots where they saw inconsistencies. And I saw at least five pictures of five where, and my friend here told me that they're not supposed to be tampered with. So if you write down 100 votes for Cepeda and 50 votes for Abelardo, and then later, or 120 votes, I have to say, later you see that the one in front of the 120 has been rubbed out, and then there's a 40 votes um, for Abelardo underneath. Uh, there's been the one that was rubbed out um, from Cepeda now became a one in front of the vote tally for Abelardo. And that happened over and over again. Um, but no, but then you have, I guess the people, the CNE, the Committee on National Elections, they also have, they must be bought off by somebody because they said the two matched perfectly. There were no inconsistencies. Huh? I saw like six myself, and one added 1,300 votes to a tally. Just added it out of nowhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought so. And then once it gets, and this is where Petro is inviting trouble, but it had to be said. Once it gets past that round where people review all the numbers and say, okay, this looks okay, this one is fraudulent, so on. 'Cause as Evelina says, we know it's been fraudulent. Yeah, yeah, we do. Um, But Petro said, current President Petro, it gets taken up by Bautista Brothers, who are US based, and they're a private company. And once it gets taken up by them, the tally, whatever it is, cannot be traced.
Hmm.
All the rest of it is very transparent. Um, Something that I think is, you know, I wish we could be that transparent in the United States. But once it got into the hands of that group, nobody knows what happens to the numbers and how the numbers get calculated, and that's where Petro is throwing legitimately throwing a fit because when you see the numbers as they are, as Evelina said, um, most people in Colombia know it's a fraud, since it's a fraud, a fraudulent election. And Cepeda conceded the election on Wednesday, and the only thing I can think of as to why he did that is because people were starting to get really, really restless and going out into the streets. And going out into the streets is not a problem, but the violence in the streets is a problem. So I think maybe they decided to hold, to concede and then go about trying to rectify this through other means.
I hope because a lot of people are furious. I've had that in my comments on different postings.
Hmm.
This person's furious. He should have never conceded, but as we know, a lot of times, sometimes people are threatened. We don't know that. We don't
Right.
know the behind the scenes. Like you talked about the violence. He doesn't want violence escalating.
No.
So, would there be a change?
Well,
Y-
well,
y-
and the other thing Abelardo said, which can spark violence, and the longer people are kept waiting for a result, even if it's a fraudulent result, which certainly can be challenged. What Abelardo said is he wants to basically eviscerate or disembowel the quote unquote left in Colombia. Well, that's half the country. That's half the voting population.
Hey,
And um,
and Madeline, what I keep saying, he doesn't even live there. That's what, and he doesn't even like the culture. It
no,
infuriates me.
no, he became a U.S. citizen, and in order to become a U.S. citizen, he basically had to um, swear off his loyalty to Colombia. Now, there's some debate about whether he actually did that or whether that actually makes a difference because he was born in Colombia. And some people say, well, since he was born in Colombia, he has every right to run for president. But there's ambiguity about that. There really is. And if people want to annul the presidency for Abelardo, that's one way to do it. One place where they could do it. They could say, but he's not in Colombia anymore. He's going to govern from Florida. It just boggles my mind.
Me too. It's infuriating. You don't. You were born there, yes, but you don't live there. Your everyday life is not there. He was pushed into, like you said, those behind the scenes people that pushed him to be the leader of a country that he can't stand, even though he
Yeah,
was born
well,
there.
he said he really doesn't want to be president, but he has to do it. I mean,
You don't
I don't
have
know.
to do it.
Hmm. Go ahead. I can't hear you well. I
I was
didn't
going
hear
to
you.
say, he doesn't have to do it. What? Who is demanding it? Is it the U.S. Like you said, the CIA? Is it part of a CIA operation that it's part of the job?
I would think so. And if it's not CIA directly, it's Marco Rubio, it's Donald Trump. But when you look at the map, um, at this point, the only country in the map of South America, the only country that is not controlled by the U.S., and that may very well happen shortly, is Brazil,
Hmm.
because you've got um, you've got Honduras. Well, that's central, but you've got Colombia, Venezuela, you've got Ecuador, you've got Bolivia. Oh my goodness, Bolivia. With Rodrigo Paz. So I think that's the most ironic name ever. His last name means peace. Yeah, right.
And he's
And then
everything but peace.
anything but. And then there's Keiko Fujimori in Peru, who has promised to govern just like her dictator father did. Um, so, uh, the U.S. treats Latin America like they are the children, the stepchildren, the unruly children, quote unquote, that the, the disciplinarian parents have to keep in check so that they can so that they can get what they want from. I mean, and this is not new. Clearly, it's not new. The Spanish conquistadors came and robbed Latin America, South America of gold and other resources. And then the US did the same. And then the people threw off the yoke of the US and then, became stronger and more assertive of their own rights and their own. I mean, the countries in South America are beautiful and have so many resources. And as Eduardo Galeano wrote um, in the 20th century, there's no reason for anybody in South America to be poor. It's just a matter of the distribution of resources. Just a matter. Um, and here we go again. And Abelardo is like the ugliest example of this because he's such a. All right, I mean this is anecdotal, but I think it means something. My Spanish has improved a great deal since I got here in 2023, in April of 2023. So we're talking more than 3 years now. I can understand almost everyone except some of the people who work the fields and speak campesino. Some of that's hard for me to understand. But the Pacto Histórico, Centro Democrático, the Greens, all of the people who were running against Cepeda, who said we've got to give our votes, we've got to ask our supporters to give their votes to Cepeda because this other guy he's just so dangerous. Um, I still can't understand whatever um, Abelardo says because I don't think someone said to me it's because they don't think he wants to be understood. Um, he speaks quickly. He speaks like he's covered in grease, and he wants nobody to know exactly who he is. And the way he speaks is Maybe it's just me, but I don't think so. Because Petro, Cepeda, they're talking to the people.
Right.
They're talking to connect with the people. They're talking to persuade people. They're talking to have a dialogue with, the guerrilla groups, to try to bring about peace through dialogue.
Yes.
Abelardo has no interest in that, none. But he profited you know, from the paramilitaries. He profited from the narco trafficking. Um, he's a fraud. He's a fraud himself.
Yes.
Um,
It kind of
uh,
reminds me of Trump when you said that, but the way him talking, he really is not talking to the people. He's just rambling. He does, Trump makes no sense, and I think he's trying to do the Trump thing.
Either, yeah, or he's trying to do what he considers to be the elitist thing, which is, all I have to do is say what I want to say. It doesn't matter whether people understand me or not. And that's, I mean, it was very apparent to me. And he was bullying. Now that's more, Trumpian on, uh, on TV interviews. If he didn't, he said things about women, where their places, um, which I thought we'd left behind decades ago. Um, but if he makes it sound, if he puffs out his chest enough and he speaks up here, so he doesn't connect with you, people say, "Oh man, this guy is smart." No, he's not. Not in my opinion.
Right. He's
Um,
playing. He's playing you. He's playing the game.
yeah, and I don't know how many votes he got that way. I don't know how many votes he really got. Um, the bulk of his votes, I understand, are from the part of Colombia where the paramilitaries are strongest. Let's think about that for a moment. Um, and probably overseas, but the people of Peru, they blocked the overseas ballots from being counted because there was a rule change, in Peru about 2 or 3 days before the election. And they thought, since people didn't know about the rules change, that it would be dangerous to accept those ballots because they wouldn't go to the right place. There'd be inconsistencies. And I think they blocked the overseas ballots from coming in. Um, I think Abelardo got about 135,000 more votes overseas from overseas ballots than did Cepeda. And that's typical because of Colombian votes anyway. People who are able to leave Colombia, I didn't realize this until I was going door to door in a New Jersey neighborhood when I was running for governor 2021. I thought people who might want to vote green, that they would be pro Petro. Wrong.
Hmm.
Because they got out of the country, they're in the US, and they're conservative. They're conservative. They think that, um, their job is to they benefit from conservatives in power. And I think, in the two elections I was part of, in 2022, that was what in 2021, that was happening in both instances, that the majority of Colombians in New Jersey, at least, were conservative. And it was very distressing. It Petro overcame all that, but Cepeda did not.
It. It just doesn't make sense because you're not living there anymore.
Well, what's that got to do with it?
Right, and this is what bothers me because you you're living here and you're not involved in the everyday life there.
No, nor do you want to be.
Right.
I think somebody asked him a question about moving his family back to Colombia, and he said, no, we have a beautiful life in Miami. He also has a place in Italy. He said, why should I sacrifice my family? We're going to live our beautiful lives. Um, well, there's a good reason for you to move yourself back to Colombia, no? Um, but think about it. Think about it for a little bit. Does Trump lives in the U.S., but does that make a difference? I mean, he really it should. It should make him, you know, face the consequences of his decisions every day.
But he only cares about himself and money. That's all he cares about.
And I think that's you pretty much summed up Abelardo. Um, like, why should he care? It's really during the last 6 weeks of the of both of the for the first election and then the runoff election. Um, I spent probably too much time on TikTok and Facebook, but there were rallies everywhere in the country, and everywhere is an exaggeration, but you know what I mean, for Cepeda. Every department, lots of different cities or towns, you could see him. And I was marveling at it because there was no Secret Service. There must have been like, some strong bodyguards around Cepeda. But if you looked at him and you looked at the rallies, they would just look like other people, right? So, but because there weren't any people with security guys or women with guns, there were no police with guns. Um, it was just, or even the couple events I went to with all the people with the mass rallies, they were open and no one felt like they were being watched or being surveilled by anyone. Very, very open and relaxed events. Um, Abelardo, I saw two. I saw two. I saw one car caravan in a place not that far from where I live, but all the cars were very much the same. They were. I mean, they weren't 200, $2 million cars, but they were comfortable. They probably would be classified as luxury cars here in Colombia. But that's it. I saw that car caravan. Maybe there were two. But for Cepeda, every day, more than once a day, there were rallies in the plazas in the center of many towns throughout Colombia. Grassroots, grassroots, tr-
Right.
talking to the people, dancing with the people, um, encouraging input from the people. Abelardo wanted no part of that. None. Zero.
Because he's
So
above the
how
people. He's above the people. He's not part of the people.
exactly? So how he got so many votes is beyond me. And that's why, as Evelina said quite some time ago tonight, it has to be fraudulent. And people will, little by little, day by day, people will resist, speak out against it. Um, and especially, man, if he goes through with the fracking after a 10-year ban on fracking, um, he's gonna hear it. He's gonna hear it. Um, and they're going to be. I mean, I don't know where these rallies are going to be, but I know somebody who's on this program right now talking to you who's, who's going to be at those rallies.
Yes.
I mean, some of the videos that were circulated. Now, that's another thing that people are already challenging, but I don't know exactly on what grounds. The use of AI in this election was over the top, over the
Hmm.
top. And if you use AI to have a candidate or someone make statements that they never made, like put words in Cepeda's mouth where he was shown to say critical things about the people in one department. But that was fraudulent too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Evelina says this is another experiment to see if a country can be run virtually. Well, and that's why, Abelardo says I don't have to move my family here. Um, but also, AI can be, oh, I mean, in addition to all the other negatives of AI, the environmental issues, the educational issues, the implications for politics after what we just witnessed and experienced here in Colombia, um, it's terrifying, really, because I mean, and I know I was terrified the first day that I said, "Oh, isn't that a beautiful picture of the mama eagle and her baby eaglets?" And then somebody at the bottom pointed out, "But they don't look like that. You can't, an eaglet is not just a miniature eagle." And I thought, "Oh shoot. I know nothing about eagles and what they look like. So I'm easily manipulated by this." Um, I think a lot of people can be easily manipulated by convincing AI, and it's everywhere, everywhere. AI.
Hmm.
I promise I'm not an AI person. You're not AI. I mean,
No.
we are real. We are here in the StreamYard room talking about Colombia. We're not AI. And I unless somebody puts me into an AI video without my knowledge, I will not I will not consciously and deliberately do an AI video.
No.
Mm-mm, not at all. So yeah, that was another big issue that Petro said, there was AI everywhere. And then of course, why should Colombia be different than the United States in terms of Facebook bots? Um, there's the Facebook bots that come out too.
Yes.
And I mean, it was some of this stuff was bad enough in the US to see it coming here and following me.
Yeah, and you're
Maybe,
trying to have conversations with people,
yeah, and
and they have to ruin it.
it's impossible. It's impossible. And maybe like people say, did you bring the bad weather with you? Well, maybe I brought the bots with me from the US.
Oh
I
gosh.
sure hope not.
I hope not. Yes, and
So
they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
yeah, on every issue. I mean, Because what these bots said was, yeah, well, it was the same AI for both candidates.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but was it used in the same way? Was it used more ethically by one than by another?
Right.
What was accomplished? And that's why these nuclear power plants are slated to be built in the US and New Jersey to power these AI data centers. And there is so much opposition to it. Um, will the opposition prevail, or will the AI data center proponents will they figure out how to get around it all? Um, we'll have to see, and we'll have to um, just keep speaking out. That's
Yes.
all. Um, I was invited to sit in on a program last night um, on Honduras because a couple days ago or a couple days from now, I don't remember exactly, will be the 17th anniversary of the coup d'etat in Honduras.
Hmm.
20, well, it's 12 years under Juan Orlando Hernandez. Um, and it was 2022. So 2019 or 2020, no, 2009 coup in Honduras. And there were some people in that who participating in that program, one in particular who's 90 plus years young and seems as sharp and as in good shape as he was when he was in his 50s.
Wow.
And I took advantage of the opportunity because in Honduras, the coup d'etat was military and violent.
Hmm.
In Colombia, at least to this point, not violent and not military. It's a soft coup, as people will say, because of the change in leadership. Oh man, that makes me think of Iran. Dang.
Yeah.
Um, what the U.S. and Israel are trying to literally take over the world.
Hmm. Yes,
Um,
they are.
but I asked these veterans of fighting of resistance to a coup d'état if they had any advice for people in Colombia, and the only thing they could say, and of course it makes a whole lot of sense, is resist, 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 resist. Um, speak out, speak up. Don't crawl into a hole and hide for the next 4 years. Very tempting, I gotta
Yes.
say. Especially as I approach the 70-year-old mark.
Hmm.
Um, part of me wants to just write, and I will write. I have been writing. I'm going to keep writing. Um, but we have to be out in the streets too. Anybody who is capable of being out in the streets needs to be out in the streets, and Colombians are good at that.
Yes, I
Um,
noticed that.
and they have high energy. They know what they're sophisticated politically, and
Yes.
yet being sophisticated politically didn't stop Abelardo from winning, and that's another reason why I believe it's a fraud. The election had to be a fraud, um, because there weren't that many people who were pro Abelardo,
Right.
unless they were hiding all this time, and they could be. They could be. They can
Hmm.
hide, behind their bankers, the attorneys, those who have power. They're the ones that people we don't see. Um,
Yes.
and they could very well have engineered this election. All right. Before I lose my voice, we should probably read the article. No,
Yes, go ahead. With
but I've
your-
got to find it. I've got to find it.
yeah, we're not allowed to put it into the room, so Madeline's just gonna, go over it. Well, we won't have the article in the room now.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to look for it. I'm going to click on it from Facebook, from where you posted it,
Okay.
because I have see now. Now it was denied to me. I can't get in. But where? Okay, let me see, because I did open it. Hold on, but it really didn't say that much more than what we've been talking about. But it would be nice to see. Ah, I found it. Wait.
Oh, good.
Well, no, it's not going to let me.
Something. Let me see if it's an
Oh, I
X.
got it. I got it. I got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, maybe that's why I couldn't open it, because it was already open. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I will just read it. Um, Wanted to split the responsibility, but D can't open it in the room. So, all right. So this is from Telesur. Um, and it's from June 26th, which is today. And the headline reads: Select de la Espriella receives electoral credentials. Um, from 1:35 p.m. today. It's going to stick in my craw to read it, but I will read it. On Thursday, oh no, it was printed today, published today, but it was from, actually it's June 25th. It was from yesterday. On Thursday, the far right politician will take office on August 7th after narrow is an understatement, razor thin victory in presidential runoff. On Thursday, Christian Quiroz, president of the National Electoral Council, or CNE, Council Electoral Nacional, if you see it in Spanish, presented Abelardo de la Espriella with his credentials as Colombia's president-elect, and Juan Manuel Restrepo with his credentials as vice president-elect. Um, de la Espriella, who will assume the presidency on August 7th, was accompanied by his family and dozens of supporters. That could be 24.
I was
Uh,
thinking the same thing when I read that. Dozens, yeah.
um, at the Corferias Convention Center auditorium in Bogota. Once he received the credentials, someone in the audience shouted, "Stand firm for the homeland." Uh, Oh, I hated that. I hated that. Which homeland? Which
Yeah, which
homeland?
homeland?
De la Espreja. The United States, Florida, Miami, um, Italy, or Colombia? Which one? Um, while the far right politician raised his hand to his temple to perform the military salute that became one of the symbols of his campaign. We just went through something similar in New Jersey with Mikey Sherrill, who was a former pilot, right? Helicopter pilot or something like that. And when she was inaugurated, there were guns and tanks and ugh, I mean, we really need to demilitarize this whole idea of military salutes. Kind of passe, don't you think?
Yes, and they're just trying to put that in people's minds, the military, to
Yeah.
focus on the military and to try to put either a positive look on the military or just that a power, that I'm a person of power and I've got this
Yes.
military.
And everywhere you see a picture of Abelardo, he's there with his hand over his, on his forehead with that kind of salute, and it drives me crazy. Anyway, according to the official results, I still call them unofficial, but that's me. De la Espriella received 12.9 million votes, 49.6% in the second round of the presidential election, compared with nearly 12.7 million votes, or 48.7%. So it's 0.9% difference out of 25 million votes cast. Um, it it doesn't make sense to me because, well, I mean, the second runoff occurred because neither candidate won 50% or more of the vote, and yet in this election, neither candidate won 50% of the vote or more, but it doesn't matter at this level. After the first round, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just it's infuriating because the fact is you would have seen more people who supported him because you were out there.
Yeah. Oh, I we saw. I mean, in one, there were people. There were hordes of people working for Cepeda and working for Quilque, Aida Quilque. Now, the two of them, Aida is in the assembly and she has a position, and Cepeda is back in the Senate, and Petro is going to be the leader of the opposition. But where that's going to go and what they can do, we need to wait and see. Um, yeah, and here it's in Spanish, and we're going to try to figure out how to do the translation. But I'll do the translation from Spanish to English here. Um,
Okay.
what I did with cats to have some fun is that I would attach 5 firecrackers on their body, and then I would explode the firecrackers, hoping to see the cats fly. But you can imagine what happened. And so this person, Daniel Mayakovsky, who posted this on X, then said, "This is the psychopath that the US has chosen to be the president of Colombia, Abelardo de la Espriella."
It
Um,
just shows his mind.
yes. Oh, and yeah, I just clicked on it to see the rest of the post, and it says Abelardo de la Espriella, a criminal who boasted on TV about torturing and killing live cats. Sorry, but it's just too crude now. I can't believe that a human wreck of this caliber gets votes from more than 10 million people. No one buys these electoral farces anymore, controlled by the CIA for decades,
Hmm.
where on one side are the liberals and on the other side is the Third Reich reincarnated. Yeah.
Because he doesn't value life. If he was able to do that, to watch, a live animal, to do that, and it didn't bother him, and he did it several times. It, anything that's living and breathing, he does not value, and he would have no problem doing horrific things to the people of Colombia.
Well, and that's where the fracking comes in. Oh, and in case people didn't realize this, um, there are no, his nickname is the tiger, and there are no tigers in Colombia. Jaguars, yes. Tigers, no.
Hmm.
So in my mind, he reinforced the fact that he's an outsider by
Yes.
calling himself the tiger. Um, because yeah, I mean there are other animals here, but fracking is not a friend to the animal population. Fracking is not a friend to the biodiversity, to the flora. To I mean the beautiful. I don't even want to go there because I'll start crying. Um, because to destroy the beauty of the Colombian countryside to make big profits for oil companies, and we've seen, haven't we? We've seen the illegal war of aggression on Iran
Hmm.
for oil. We've seen the illegal kidnapping of Maduro and his wife Celia Flores for oil. We've seen mm, we've seen Cuba squeezed, smothered, strangled because no oil is allowed to go there. Um, so oil is a main character in this play, but
Hmm.
it's often either not represented or misrepresented. And fracking, I was talking to a friend of mine today about this. Much of Colombia is, there are mountains too, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, but there have been plans to frack at areas that are at sea level. You can't drill there. You can't uncover, well you can, but it's impractical and bad for the environment, and nobody talks about that.
No.
Nobody was taught, well, I shouldn't say that. The Greens and the Pacto Historico were doing video after video of showing what would happen if fracking began all over Colombia. And I don't know, but I'm sure after a 10-year ban, I am sure there are a lot of people who are against fracking, but the question is going to be how will that opposition be expressed? All right, so let me read a little further here.
Okay.
Colombia's president elect is a US citizen, an admirer of President Donald Trump,
Oh, throw up.
and a donor to the Republican Party. The 47-year-old attorney made his fortune defending clients linked to paramilitarism, drug trafficking, corruption, and corporate fraud. But he wasn't fighting against them. He was defending them and profiting from that.
Exactly. So he's got a network of people.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And they're not, the most squeaky clean, let's put it that way. Uh,
Exactly.
in July 2025, De La Espriella founded the quote Homeland Defenders unquote movement and registered his presidential candidacy with the sole objective of preventing the left from remaining in power through a presidency led by Senator Ivan Cepeda. Again, I mean I understand why they're being called the left, and this man is definitely ultra right, but I think you know, we should call it what it is. It's a movement to protect an anti-corruption movement, a movement for social and environmental justice,
Mm-hmm.
um, a movement to raise the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Espriella says he's gonna eliminate the increase in the minimum wage, and the poverty rate, in Colombia has gotten better under Petro, but you take away the minimum wage, it'll all come crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay. During his public appearances before the media, the far right politician, who refers to himself as, quote, the tiger,
Mm.
has made aggressive and controversial statements, including describing women as beings whose brains are designed for household tasks, calling for the elimination of leftists by disemboweling them. And he's also called them enemies of the state. And that those enemies of the state are half of the voting population.
And I
I,
wonder
I
if they voted for him. If they voted for him, and he said that about them.
hmm, don't know. And acknowledging that he killed cats while playing during his childhood. And you know what he also said, and I can I can relate to this. That's the end of the article. I can relate to this because when I ran, okay, Evelina says, paper tiger, just light him up if you can catch him. No wonder he'll be ruling virtually. Yeah. Um, he criticized Cepeda for the way he dressed and for the way he was like he looked. And Cepeda said, I'm just authentic. I'm being myself. And if you look, we don't have a picture of Espriella we can show. Um, but if you take a look at this 47-year-old, clean cut, but a mouth, shoo. I
Yeah.
mean, he'll go ahead.
It just so
Mhm.
anti people. His elitist male group, thinking the men are the smart ones, and dissing women and everything else. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Yes, and you could see with Cepeda, if you were watching Espriella, and as I said, I'd watch him, but I wasn't able to understand much of what he said because I don't think he wanted to be understood. But
Right.
he was combative all the time. No, I didn't say that. No, it's all right. No, no, no. No." And who else is combative? Um, and I guess he took a page from the U.S. president's book about being combative. Um, but people said to me, I had run 2018, 2020, and 2021. And in 2021, when I ran for New Jersey governor, um, some of the people who were newly involved in politics said, "Oh, Madeline, you need to change your image. You need to wear a three-piece suit and get photos taken of you in front of the US flag." I said, um, come, miss me with that one, please.
Yes.
Um, because for 40 years, I was an organizer in New Jersey. And for 40 years, I didn't put on airs. I didn't use makeup. I didn't wear fancy clothes. I was one with the people.
Yes.
And that's what's basically, I'm not saying I'm at the same level as Cepeda by any means, but I could totally relate with his response to people saying, well, why don't you get your teeth straightened? And why is your hair messy? And why? because I'm there with the people, folks. That's what
Exactly.
he, he's not trying to set himself apart. Evelina says, "Eh, Abelardo looks like a cartoon villain.
Mm-hmm.
What's Lerdo? I don't know what that means. Um, but yeah, he doesn't. He really he doesn't. He's not very impressive. That's for sure. Not to me. Not to me. And but some people still. Oops, sorry. Some people still think the U.S. is the answer to everything.
Ugh.
And oh yeah, we can if we become the 51st state. That oh slow. Okay, thank you, thank you, Evelina. Um, if we become the 51st state here in Colombia, we'll go places. We'll be rich. We'll we'll be so much better off. Um, I don't think so, but and
No.
that's what I tried. I put together like a 6 slide Instagram post on, as a voice from the US who transplanted herself to Colombia. I tried to write a whole bunch of warning statements, but without telling people who to vote for and how to vote because
Mm-mm.
I'm an outsider also, but from my own experience, saying, "You think this is going to happen in this way? No, this is what's going to happen. You think this is going to happen in this way? No, this is what's going to happen." I,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think I have to write more. I have to see if I can get something published in the United States, and because we're going to have to keep an eye. We're going to all have to keep an eye on this Abelardo. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Abelardo. Um, and we're going to have to keep an eye, as we have been, on Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and the tactics they want to use um, to take over Colombia. And as
Mm-hmm. And what about all the prisons?
oh my God, 10 mega prisons. And we're already experiencing some horrible, horrible things with ICE and the quote unquote Antifa protests. As we said many years ago, there is no organization called Antifa.
No.
But the trial of the 8, eight protesters at a shutdown ICE rally where some were given 100-year sentences. I think the one who was given a 100-year sentence was because he moved some books, and then someone was given a 50-year sentence. Um, but if Abelardo already has a deal with Noboa from Ecuador to do kind of like what Bukele has done in El Salvador, which
Yes.
is the beautiful, again, quote unquote, out in the middle of nowhere, ripping up land in order to build mega prisons. And Abelardo says he's already gotten an agreement from Noboa to build 10 mega prisons.
It's
10.
sick. It's sick. It's sick.
Well, and it's to help, it is sick, and it's also to help Trump and Rubio and company have space for more detained immigrants through
Disgusting.
ICE. Yeah, it's I mean, part of me, I'm still waiting on my visa, and I'm very, very discouraged. Um, if Colombia doesn't want me, I'm not sure where I'm going to go. Where I can't go back to the U.S.
No.
Um, and throughout Latin America, I mean, the people are fighting back, but so far, all the countries in South America are pro US, and some are um, dollarized, like
Mm.
Panama is Central America, but they're on the dollar. And oh, Abelardo says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to dollarize
Ugh.
Colombia."
It's infuriating. It's infuriating because I always say each country should represent their people. Every country in the world is not the U.S. And you want to vacation in different places. You want to see different cultures, eat different foods and stuff, and they're they'll be taking away the tourism.
Yeah, tourism is a big deal, though. Many have been trying to um, implement more tourism to protect, again, to protect the environment. I mean, the valleys, the palm trees, the rivers, the wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing here. Still, and people have been fighting off development, not totally successfully. Also fighting off extractivism, which is the um, mining of gold and coal and other things. Um, and Abelardo is gonna, like, all bets are off.
Yeah, he wants to
Whatever,
destroy the country.
yeah, whatever the U.S. wants, the U.S. is going to get, unless people's protests are successful. And um, we gotta, you can't win if I know I'm quoting a lottery line. You can't win if you don't play.
Right.
um, in this case, what I mean is you can't win against these forces if you don't
Mm-hmm.
protest and try to resist if you don't resist. Okay, D, my throat is starting to go. Hey, this is pretty good. This was almost an hour and a half this time. I
Yes, I
guess
have to get going too.
the 5 week layoff helped my voice.
Yes, it was
Um,
between you and me because I had to cough. I mean, like between moving and the cough and getting sick and everything else. So yeah. So anyway, I'm just glad we were able to get back together again and
yes.
really discuss this with Colombia because it's just so hard to process all this. It's just so upsetting. But like you said,
Well,
protest, protest, protest. We keep sharing information, sharing information, and sharing information. And like when you write your articles, we'll read them here. And
oh yeah, I should have sent you that, but I will probably have another one shortly. And if past experience is any indication, Petro's going to make quotable quotes almost every day from
mm-hmm,
here on in. Especially, well, I know on the genocide and quote unquote repairing relationships with Israel.
mm,
Oh man, I think that Lego video from Iran is playing in my head all the time. The United States of Israel. Um, Someday we got to talk about
mm.
the budget that merges Israeli military with U.S. military. I don't see how that can be legal, but
I don't see how it could be either. Because each country is supposed to be its own country. I mean, just pick any country in the world and do it like the U.S. and just any random country. No, it's the U.S. is the U.S. and whatever other country is that other country.
well, that's what it should be.
Hmm.
Anyway, my cat's starting to go crazy, so
Okay, well,
another
thank you
reason
very
to
much, Madeline.
my pleasure. Thank you, Evelina, for all of your abalerdo comments.
Yes,
And
yes.
just light him up if you can catch him. Um, yeah, because he's going to be covered. I mean, even traditional extraction of oil. When I was touring the country with a purpose, fact finding mission,
Right.
back in 2020, there was oil covering everything where Eco Patrol is located, one of the large oil companies. And that was without fracking. So,
Mhm.
it's just, ah, but,
And the boom, you know, with so much of this extraction, I mean, it's going to shake the earth.
oh, yeah, let's not even, we'll talk about Venezuela another day.
Yes,
But for now, I'm going to have to say goodnight. And
yes. And I say good night too. And I just want to,
thank you.
yes, good night to you. And I just want to thank our audience, thank everybody who's been watching and not commenting. We appreciate you being here. And actually, tomorrow night's um, Saturday, Harsh is going to join me to talk about various things. And Harsh, he's
Yeah. I
Harsh
don't
is
know
Harsh.
who's more verbose, who talks more.
I don't know.
You got three of us at least.
Yes, I
The
do, and I enjoy that.
Denardi, Denardi, Harsh, and me.
Yes,
Um, well, I'm sure I'll be on. I hope I can be on next week. Good night,
yes. Good night.
Evelina.
Yeah, good night. And Evelina says good night and thank you.
All right. See you
Okay.
soon.
Yeah, see you soon and good night, everyone. As I said before, thank you for coming and keep sharing information. Keep sharing and sharing and sharing. It's so important to keep people alert about what's happening, and especially now Colombia and Latin America. It's so important. And
Resist, resist, resist. And on that note, for me, good night.
yes, and good
And
night all.
thanks,
Thank
Dee.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you.